Hey, this is Dr. Green with Momenta Chiropractic, and today we're going to answer a question that we get all the time from patients. And the question is, if my low back goes into spasm and feels really tight, should I stretch it? And it's a good question because oftentimes when a muscle gets tight, we almost get this internal sensation that we should stretch it to be able to relieve that. However, lower back spasms are a little bit different, and we're going to explain why here. So one of the things that we kind of have to understand is why a muscle is tight. And so if you have a sudden spasming of your lower back, for example, you sit for a long period of time and then go to stand up, and then upon standing up, it feels like your back just kind of goes into spasm, or popularly, it could be after a workout or after nothing necessarily strenuous. You could just go to reach down and pick something up, and then at the bottom or upon returning to standing back up, your back could just kind of spasm. So it's a little bit different than what we would consider to be a muscle strain. Muscles are typically strained when they're kind of stretched. Sometimes there's a certain level of tearing that happens, like if I strain my hamstring, for example. When the lower back goes into spasm, it's usually not necessarily a muscular problem. Now, the response of the muscle spasming, yes, is a muscle tightening up, but it's usually secondary to an underlying injury. So when I bend forward, I'm putting a lot of stress on some of the soft tissue in my lower back, some of the joints, we call those facet joints, as well as putting a lot of pressure on the lumbar disc. And when that happens, usually it's a momentary kind of instability at the joint that causes a little bit of a buckle because those joints are at an end range and we can't support it very well there. So as a response, what the body does, which is actually really smart when you think about it, the lower back muscles spasm and tighten up, right? So when they were in a position that they couldn't control, fully flexed and stretched, the best way that the body can be able to limit that instability is to create tension by spasming the lower back muscles. This is usually why stretching the lower back muscles after a spasm doesn't provide much relief, because we're stretching them into the position that we were just injured in and irritating those underlying structures that were originally injured. And so we're kind of going against the body's natural response of locking it down and creating stability versus trying to just kind of stretch away that muscle tightness. So if you've experienced a lower back spasm following a movement like that, rather than trying to just kind of stretch that pain away, we would recommend getting it checked out professionally. Somebody should be able to identify what the underlying injury might be and give you recommendations besides stretching that may actually provide you with more relief and hopefully quicker than trying to just kind of stretch out that pain alone. So if that has happened to you and you have questions, feel free to reach out. We'd be happy to help.